The children in nursery as well have a lovely idea. On a Monday morning, we've always done, in Schools for the Deaf, you always do weekend news. And on a Monday morning, sometimes, you know, it's really hard with the very young children with limited language to actually help them share their news with us. We look in the homeschool books and there's nothing written that week, and we're thinking, goodness, what can we say that they've done? And what's great now is the children have got their PSPs and they've got, you know, a bit of a clip of Granny's birthday party or a trip to the park or something like that, and they can connect it up to the whiteboard, and when they're telling their weekend news, they've got the story up there behind them, sort of motivating them to actually express themselves in their best possible BSL, but also it acts as a scaffold for them. We've been involved in this project now since September. Now, throughout the academic year, we have kept all the stakeholders involved in what's going on. So we've kept parents, governors, all the members of staff within the school fully appraised of the project and how exciting it is, and the really positive outcomes that we're seeing already. And there are beginning to be sort of murmurings with the other staff and the other children about, we want one of these, because they can see the benefits of the PSPs in the classroom as an educational learning tool. The children at Key Stage 1 have to do a piece of writing at the end of every week. This is something that happens throughout the school. They have to write a diary entry or a letter in English. Now, when we're asking them to do that, we're asking them to do a huge thing, because we're asking them to be writing in their second language. So in the session before the writing session, there's lots of talk, there's lots of exchange about what they're going to be writing about, and of course that's all in sign language. Then the children are asked to come in after break time and do their piece of written work. And what the teachers at Key Stage 1 were finding was that the children had got such a wealth and a richness of BSL. They'd got so much to say in sign language. And then when they came back and we asked them to write in English, their second language, all that richness of ideas was lost and diluted. And really the written English would bear no resemblance to the signing. So what the teacher said was, please, can we have a PSP? And they set it up in the corner of their rooms. It's there all the time for the children to use. So the children can go to the PSP, they can rehearse what they want to write about. So they sign it, they rehearse it, they review it, they look at the video clip. When they're happy with what they've said, they then take the PSP back to the classroom. It's a lovely small little device. It sits on the desk. It's not a problem. Sits next to their work. They can look at what they've written, and then they can try and translate what they've written into English. And then they write a sentence, and then they go back and they look again at what they wrote in BSL, and they can write a little bit more. And then they can compare the two languages, the live BSL and the written English. And that has proved really, really, really helpful and very successful in actually supporting the children's writing. Outcomes positively, I think I've probably spoken about most of them. We've talked about homeschool liaison, how much enjoyment that the children are getting using the PSPs for learning. Ownership, the children are proud of their PSPs, and this is something that I really want to say as well, because when we started this project, so many people said, what, you're going to send PSPs home with the children? Memory cards are inside them, and little cameras, and they're only little children. No, they'll get lost. It's a silly idea. Don't do it. But we trusted the children, and we impressed upon them the value of the PSPs in terms of learning. And to date, I have to say, not one has gone missing. Not one has been damaged or lost. And I think it's because the children can see the value in that. Definitely there's an increase in their motivation levels and in their autonomy in the classroom situation. It's an independent learning tool. We've had raised achievement in spellings, definitely at Key Stage 2, which a colleague of mine I hope is going to talk to you a little bit later about. And as I said, the parents feel more involved and they feel valued as true partners in the learning process with their child. So today it's a really successful picture. So what next? Well, I would really like to see the PSP as an entitlement for every deaf child that comes into this school. I want to I want the children to have the same opportunities throughout school that the children in years 5 and 6 and in foundation have had this year. This is a view and a wish shared by all the staff and all the pupils within the school, and parents especially. Parents are coming to me and saying, can I be involved in the project too? So that's the next step. Funding is an issue. They're not cheap, and we've got to build in sustainability to that. But I think where there is a will, there is a way, and I hope we can actually realise our dream of having PSPs for everybody. We want to do another thing we've just started doing a little bit of, is using the PSP to develop bedtime stories for our children. Hearing children with hearing parents get that time, you know, they get stories, several stories a day, they get bedtime stories. Deaf children, deaf signing children, don't necessarily have that opportunity. So we have this vision that what we'd like to do is sort of have a virtual library in the sky. So our deaf adults would sign a story into the PSP. There would be spoken language on it as well, so that hearing siblings within the family situation could also share in the story. And they could then have a bedtime story every night that would be delivered in sign language, and it would be delivered in English. We would love to have a sort of virtual library in the sky whereby once we've done all these little tapes, the children, for instance, RSS feeds, I don't know technology-wise if that's possible, but that's what I'd really like, is if we could have a feed of a chapter a night of a story that the children could just have on their PSPs to share with their parents and their siblings. So that's the next step for us, that we would like to have these bedtime stories. And as I said, PSPs for everybody. We're obviously continuing trialling classroom solutions for the PSP, because there have been quite a few technical challenges that have faced us with this project, I have to say. We've had to go in with a great deal of tenacity at times and resilience, and myself and the team that are working on the PSP project have had moments when we've really been frustrated with all the wires that we have sticking out of the machines, and how we charge maybe 9-10 units. In fact, down in foundation, there's 15 children down there now. So that's how do we manage 15 PSPs? So all of those issues we're having to find solutions for, which is very exciting, but can be, as an early adopter of such sort of technology, quite frustrating at times. And obviously, that will be a next step for us, is finding ways that we can actually manage it effectively within the classroom situation. You know, how do we charge them? There are issues to do with storage of information within the system. Do we need to upload stuff to the network to save it? Lots and lots of technical issues that, again, we are not necessarily geared to be able to find those solutions. We've had huge support from Birmingham East CLC, and I think without them it would have been very difficult to manage a project like this. But there's lots more that we can do to make the PSP function really smoothly and seamlessly within the classroom situation. And if we are going to roll this out school-wide next year, then obviously those sorts of issues need to be addressed as well. But all in all, the PSP is just a fabulous tool in the classroom, and I really, really hope that we can continue to develop this work.